Alright, so the Spider-Man 2 review is finally finished. A lot has happened since I started making this review, so I'm sorry it took so long. New Game Plus is not going to be covered, but this is going to be the full Spider-Man 2 experience. Enjoy. Hey guys, Dark Ops here. Today I'm finally coming at you with my Spider-Man 2 review. I've been really trying to push this out the door, but I was waiting for New Game Plus, and unfortunately it just hasn't come yet. So in this review, New Game Plus is not going to be counted. So we're just going to be judging the game as a whole right now. So with that being said, here are the 4 categories that I'm going to be ranking it in. Story, gameplay, innovation, and content. These 4 pillars will decide if this is a worthy sequel or if it was a failure like some would say. So let's get started with the story. The story takes place about 10 months from the events of Miles Morales, and it really focuses on Miles first rather than Peter. So as you can see here, he's trying to get into college but can't think of a letter to write. He's with his friends, and most of the main cast you could discover from Miles Morales. We're also introduced to the fact that Peter has become a teacher, which is a great introduction into the underlying theme about the story and the symbiote. But as you can see here, he kind of struggles to balance his life, and that's a main theme of the story that it tries to go on, and succeeds at multiple times throughout the story. But I often think that this is where the theme was really at its best, because after this, you don't really get to see Peter try to balance his life between being a human and being a superhero. And Miles, this is more of his case where he actually does struggle quite a bit. You know, with the death of his father, he has to try and struggle his revenge, at the same time trying to get into college that's messing with his head. So, on that note, this is a bit of a mixed bag for me. But I do think that it does this really well, especially when it starts to begin to introduce the villains of the game. That's great part about the story. That's probably the best part about the story, is introducing its new cast of villains. And man, can I just say, out of any Spider-Man game, any superhero game I have played, these villains are 10 out of 10. These are some of the best villains in any superhero game I have ever fought against, and they are introduced perfectly. Let me show you a clip of the best villain in this game, hands down.
You are confirmed. Strike Force K1 on approach.
Status report. The mana and arena are nearly complete. Recon units, report in.
The Sandman eluded us. Recapture not an option.
Then he was not the one.
Copy that. Awaiting orders, sir.
Prepare for the transfer tomorrow. And do not fail again.
That's right, Kraven. Kraven is done so excellently here that it almost is better than the entire second half of the game. And most must agree with me, because Venom seems to be getting shat on no matter where I go, whether it be Reddit or Twitter. So why is Kraven such a cool character, and how is he done so well? Well, he's introduced early on, right? And that's what I think is really well done. He's introduced almost immediately. Now I know Venom is technically introduced, but I think Kraven has done much better because we're given such a sense of scale with him. He's given an army. He's such a powerhouse. And then he gets to kill one of Spider-Man's villains, Scorpion, in one of the most badass scenes I've seen in this entire game. Take a look.
Have a nice trip. Is this the best you can do? They said you were a killer. Imagine my disappointment.
What an incredible way to show how powerful a character is. And this is one of the also many things I love about this story, is how it's shot and how it makes you feel like you're really in there with the character. Now let me show you some more with Miles Morales, right? As you can see through this gameplay, this almost plays like a horror game. Look at this shot right there, that looks terrifying. Now of course this is for the Lizard, who is a pretty scary villain in this game. But as you can see, it's just shot so well, it makes you really feel kind of creeped out, but at the same time, during this part of the story, you feel like you're with him and Genki trying to find this lizard. So, the horror aspect, I think, really needs to be talked about more, because honestly, at points, this does feel like a great horror game, and that's surprising considering this is a superhero game. It's not supposed to feel like horror, but look at this. This looks incredible. Like, I've never seen such attention to detail for a game that's supposed to be a hero game and yet feel like a horror game. Look at this. This does look a little bit cliched, to be admitted, but it looks great and it plays fine. So yeah, this is just incredible part of the story. So what's there left if the beginning's so good? If it's so good, Dark Ops, why is there the second half that you don't like? Well, it's not all bad, okay? This first half is excellent, but you know, you've got certain parts that you just want to show off and you really want to show. So let me show you the best part of the second half of this game, and I will give the final score for the story up until we get to that point, and you know what I'll be talking about. But let me show you what I think really pulls this game together.
Almost there. Hang on. Hang on. Come on. Get up. Harry!
Pete?
Please stay with us.
Come on. Pete, come on, this is nothing. Remember in 5th grade when you... No. No. You gotta stay awake, buddy.
Pete!
No!
That's right, Symbiote Spidey. That is, without question, my favorite part to play as. I love the suit. The suit design is incredible, and it's introduced great. I love this little cutscene with Miles where he sees the suit and he's low-key kind of scared, but he doesn't bring it up. So, it's just a really cool part of the game that I love they threw in. But, that comes with an asterisk. But the way the suit is taken off, and the way it becomes Venom, is so mind-numbingly dumb that I can't even put it on screen for you guys, but if I could, you know what I'd be thinking. But it's these little scenes right here with Miles and Peter with the suit that just really makes me appreciate the fact that they at least tried to put it in, even if towards the end it kind of messes up a little bit. But I love the suit, and I love the inclusion in this game. So, final ranking for the story. With what I've talked about and its villains, along with just how it blends together to make a seamless experience, this is still going to be a high rating for me. Even if Venom was kind of thrown in last minute, I still think the game does its best to make the story still flow great, and it does. But the theme just doesn't stick towards the end, and unfortunately, it does hurt it a bit. A 20 out of 25. Not the worst score, obviously, but it definitely just kind of falls apart towards the end, and I think that if we just got a little more playtime, a little more screen time, it would have been perfect, but no, it just doesn't. Ugh. Alright, but with that being done, let's talk about the gameplay. The gameplay is great here. It's not crazy changed over Spider-Man 1, but I don't think it had to. Both characters have their unique power sets, and they've got their own skill trees, as typical with these Insomniac games. And of course, it just plays and looks great. So there's nothing really bad here. I really appreciate the changes to certain combos, or how you can actually, do that little kick combo on the wall right there. It looks and plays really well. But yeah, there's not too much to be said here other than the nice quality of life things. So it's not really much of a change, but I will say for sure that adding the surge mode for Peter is really great. I do often feel like Miles has way too much power. He has his own unique sets along with his little Venom rage, and his little thunderclap powers just make him kind of a mini god almost. So it's kind of crazy to think how Miles is really overpowered and Peter unfortunately is not. So I guess to that extent you could say the people commenting Peter got nerfed was correct, but I wouldn't say that exactly, more so that Miles is just naturally OP. But it is what it is, I suppose. I think the gameplay is great. It improves, and the gadgets I don't mind being gone. One I do appreciate being added in is the stealth web. The stealth web is super fun to use, and it's unfortunate because we don't have a ton of bases to attack, and stealth isn't focused on in this game as much. So unfortunately you don't get to use these things as much, but they're so fun to use. I love using these to web up enemies and just take them up. The way you're able to catch them off guard and set your own path is awesome. This is something that Peter and Miles will totally do, so I'm glad they added it in. I just wish there was more opportunities to play with it, because you don't get to really use the stealth web all that often. If you're not going through complete stealth, which this game struggles with, then you can't really utilize it all that much. You can use it for platforming, which is fun, and oftentimes I'll just do it for stupid things like slinging across the map by placing it in between two buildings. That's fun, but I really wish there were more stealth sections to take advantage of this. But regardless, the gameplay is incredible here. It's one of the best in any hero game, and probably my favorite hero game in terms of just combat. There's enough skills for both characters that I think they differentiate each other, but I still think Miles is a bit overpowered and Peter is in desperate need of an upgrade. Even with his future abilities, I just don't appreciate the fact that a lot of his are more swing and punching compared to Miles, who can literally just become Darth Sidious and summon lightning like he's Jesus. But, it's fine because I think both characters play great, and of course, the suite of suits you can use for both characters makes the gameplay just look that much more immersive and fun. So, I'm gonna go with a 23 out of 25. This is great gameplay, although a bit unbalanced on Peter's side, and of course, just Miles being as overpowered as he is. But I just really love this game's gameplay, and there's almost no faults here. Alright, time to come to everyone's favorite section. Innovation. What does this game do differently? Well, honestly, not a whole lot, and that's okay to all of you haters in the comments. That's okay. Just having wings by themselves are such a nice addition to the game that it almost feels like there's almost nothing else they needed to change. But we're in the innovation section, so we gotta talk about it. There's a severe lack of actual meaningful change here. Why can't we play co-op as Miles and Peter? I know this is a single player experience, but would it have hurt to have an optional mode to play with your friends while you're chasing Kraven? Like, imagine if I was playing as Spider-Man and one of my friends decided to play as Miles and do this section. Could you imagine how innovative that would be for an expansive this big to be able to play with your friends? Even with just one friend? That would be incredible. That would be like 10 out of 10 worthy even. But no, instead they just have it so it's a cutscene where you play as Miles for a little bit and you watch Peter chase down the lizard. Like, why couldn't we have played as two people? Why can't we have had even just one friend? Even if it's just two people, I'd be okay with it. But no, it's just relegated to a cutscene as Miles and Peter goes on to chase the lizard. It's whatever, fine. I do appreciate, having the symbiote. The symbiote is a major change, of course. Not only do you just have the ability to symbiote surge, but you also can swing in mid-air, and you can land on the water as well. Little minor things like that are pretty nice, but as I said, it really stinks here that you have to kind of switch between characters just for small sections like this when you could play with your friends. That would be such a nice change. That's something I was asking for even in the last Spider-Man game. Why isn't that here? Maybe in Spider-Man 3, I'm not going to be talking about any of the leaks because that's just disrespectful to Insomniac, but I would love to see that. That would be such a treat to be able to play with your friends. But I guess we'll never know because it was never going to happen, I guess. But if it does happen to a future game, you can count on it that I'll be giving it a 25 out of 25 in terms of innovation. There's no reason why we shouldn't be able to at least play with one friend on experiences like Spider-Man. Spider-Man is all about having your friends. Didn't we just learn from Spider-Verse to have multiple people with you on things like this? But whatever, if it's not going to have multiplayer, what else does it do? Well, instead of gadgets, you have these little abilities you can see here with R1 and L1, which are fun enough by themselves, but like I said, there's only 4 each, so it feels really weird that they just decided to either balance this or make it so you didn't have too much on you at all. So it's fine, I guess, but it's so odd that they made this choice, especially considering that you had up to 8 gadgets in the last game that you could equip at once. Now, you did have to use a gadget wheel, so I appreciate that that's gone. I'm fine with that being gone. But we didn't get too much into replacements. There isn't a whole lot here left. You made a refined system, but at the cost of not having a whole lot left there, you know? There's, like, even in this gameplay right here, even if it's towards the beginning, I only have 3 abilities I can use. Again, New Game Plus isn't available, so this footage is before I could actually play it a second time, or a third time, to use New Game Plus. But that's exactly my point. It feels so empty and barren at times. You can swing your gadgets, which is a nice change, but it's just like these nice quality of life changes. It's not something huge or major. So at the end of the day, innovation isn't crazy here. Of course, I love being able to use Surge. I love being able to have Rage. I love that ability. It's fun, but honestly, I kind of saw it coming. Not only because Miles had it in his own game, so Peter was likely going to get one of his own, but also God of War has it, and, you know, God of War Valhalla just had a new Rage ability unlocked. So I kind of figured that maybe this would have one too. But it's just, I really wish they could have done more, just something, just anything, just co-op, please. Like, do co-op and you will get a 25, I promise. Just do co-op. Do it! Like, even if you have to push the game to 2026, which is probably going to happen, 2028, just give us co-op. Like, that would be so much fun. I would love to play with my friends on Spider-Man. That would, like, be so much fun to play. But, as is, without it, I'm going to have to go with a 19 out of 25. There's almost nothing here that's too changed, but I think that's okay with the quality of life that is added, but I really don't appreciate how such major changes are just absent here. And the balancing issues are even worse when you consider the fact that you have a bunch of gadgets, most of them are crap. So, at the end of the day, I think this game is pretty unbalanced, but the innovations are nice to have and the quality of life changes are incredible. So, please don't get too offended if I said I didn't like the innovations, because I do, but there was just, I wish there was co-op. Like, this game clearly needed more game time, so why not co-op? But I'm gonna get too lost into this section, so let's go into the last section, content.
Let's bring it home! Boom! Yeah, baby!
As you just saw there, this is probably one of my favorite missions in the entire game. There's just so much personality here, and I love it. I love these little additions of having these almost side-like missions into the main game that spice it up while also just looking and acting different, but also correct for the character. But for Miles anyway, I noticed that after I beat the game, there's nothing left for him to do. I'm serious, you could do the Mysterio things, but why isn't it offered to Peter as well? Why are content like that exclusive to one or the other? And I understand there has to be some, but the ones Miles has are garbage. The college style side missions are some of the worst, boring, most intrusive gameplay that you can have in this game. You think the MJ missions are bad? Go play the fucking college missions. Those missions are boring. I can't believe that somebody added those into the game and considered it a wrap. You just do 2 of those and it's over. Like, why? Why can't we just do more missions like this, where he becomes like a DJ? This is super fun. Why can't we explore more of this and his connection with Prowler? Why is the Prowler only given like 5 minutes of screen time? Especially considering this is 2 stories. And you want to know the rest? You want to know the best part? If you complete this game on standard difficulty, the advertised 20-25 hours can be completed in 15 or less. 15 hours.
Are you out of your mind?
That's absurd when you're paying $70. There's less than 15 hours of content. That is absurd. Now, that's not just all the side content, right? Because there is more side content here. But the main story could be completed in 15 hours or less, and that's just absurd to me. Now, that's not to say that there's no content here or that it's lacking in any way. There are some missions where you get to do just side activities. But then I just bring up the question why we can't just replay this. Like, imagine if this basketball mission was expanded so there would actually be a score. Maybe it would be slightly more intense than just being so piss easy. I don't know, maybe just add a difficulty? Regardless, I feel like they could have added more for side content. And no, I'm not talking about those bullshit silver base bases from the last game. You can keep that shit out. But more unique stuff to the characters would have been appreciated for sure. Especially considering the Flame, who, spoilers incoming, please turn off if you don't want to hear spoilers. Especially when the Flame turns out to be Carnage, and he gets 2 missions. 2! Like, after you complete the Flame missions, he's revealed, and that's it. 2 missions? Are you shitting me? You know what would have been cool? If there were more missions exploring Cassidy. Imagine if we got to see him in prison break out. Maybe have a slight teaser at the end with Venom and Carnage. But no, we're just gonna shove him in because, haha, it's a nice reference. He's gonna be in DLC, I assume, but regardless, it's still absurd to me that the Flame is actually Carnage when there's 2 missions. 2! I have to emphasize this because there could be way more missions exploring the Flame instead of just 2 missions and then it's over and he's already revealed. And that's also a waste of Yuri's character as well, because Yuri is in the game, you know, as the Wraith, but she's only there for the Flame missions. That's it. That's it. Why isn't she in more missions? Why is there only a couple where you can actually talk to her? As a matter of fact, Peter reveals that he hasn't talked to her in months. So, where is that? Where's that content? Why can't we explore that? She was such an interesting character in the first game, and yet she's seemingly cut here. Same goes for Black Cat. She's given less than 5 minutes of meaningful screen time. Like, what? Less than 5 minutes for Black Cat? She was given a whole DLC. Why isn't she more in this game? Now, I am aware that she has her own DLC and therefore doesn't need to be explored in this game as heavily, but my point is that she could have been used more meaningfully than just a mission for Miles that ultimately added up to nothing. Her whole side mission to go to Paris ends up to nothing. It's just to explore the power of the PS5. Like, good job. You wasted her character just for that. Okay, whatever. But, okay, so disregarding that, is there a good enough amount of side content? Yes, but with an asterisk, there's not enough at this point to be considered a fully fledged $70 experience. And what I mean by this is that you can get platinum. You know what? I will let Angry Joe take over for me. You can get platinum after you complete the game, after you go through all the missions. You can complete this platinum in less than 4 hours. Now, okay. To be fair, I managed this after I completed the game in about 17-ish hours, and then got platinum by the 19-hour or 20-hour mark. So that means that as long as you're just completing the game and going along your way, getting new abilities, you can get this game done. You can get the platinum in less than 4 hours. That is absurd. Now, Spider-Man games have notoriously been easy to get platinum, But even Miles Morales took me 6, 7 hours to complete. So the fact that this took me 4 to get platinum is pretty insane. So I wonder if New Game Plus will add anything else, but as is, I just gotta say, content isn't all the way up there. But the gameplay is so good that it conflicts with what I want to give it. So, total, I've gotta give content as is, without DLC, without New Game Plus, because this game still doesn't have it. 3 months later, I'm gonna have to go with another 19 out of 25. This doesn't mean the content is bad, but this does mean there is a concerningly low amount of content in this game, considering that this took 5 years to develop, and this is what we get for content? I do appreciate the story, don't get me wrong, the story was great, even if it was a slight downgrade over the first 2 games, or the first game. Miles Morales' story is dog shit, but you know, this is way better, okay? But regardless, the amount of content here is shockingly low when you explore it after beating the game. So, 19 out of 25 again, but that doesn't mean it's bad, okay? That does not mean that this is bad by any means, but it does mean that it is concerningly low, and I hope that we can keep a watch on this for the future, because if not, we might not get too much content in the future for games. So to conclude, this game is great. With all the points that we've added up from all the things that we've explored, the content, innovation, story, and gameplay, I can add it up to an 81 out of 100. For me, that's a B and a good recommendation. I just can't put it in the outstanding category like I really want to, simply because it doesn't really jump on the levels that it needed to. In terms of gameplay, it's equally good and better than the last game, okay? In terms of gameplay, if you're just playing this for gameplay and nothing else, this is a 10 out of 10 right there, or 100 out of 100. But for those wanting the story and side content, more to do after the game, and just wondering what happens next, you're gonna be left a little bit disappointed. And honestly, I can't blame people for thinking this is an 8 out of 10. However, I do think the symbiote was done great. I don't think it was done dirty. And Craven was great as well as a villain and character. And I don't care too much about the villains from the last games being killed off, because again, they're not really going to be introduced ever again. The Sinister Six is done, so I'm fine with that, okay? But I just gotta say, the symbiote storyline could have been way longer, and there could have been way more side content here. But this is still an easy recommendation, and the power well, and I think a 81 is perfect for this game. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. If you have any more games you would like me to review, please let me know, as this took me a very long time, and I'm very sorry that it took me so long to get this out. But now that it's done, I'm happy with it. So, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Dark Ops out.